guess just to further explain for those of you that don't quite understand why we have 2011 proposal submissions and 2012 up here, is because last year was the first year of implementing the trust agreements, but for circumstances that we couldn't proceed with the voting, but to honor the proposals that were submitted last year and approved by the trustees and council, we've decided to piggyback on last year's submissions as well this year. So every beneficiary will have 4 ballots this year.
Okay, so my name is Joy Grant, and I'm the secretary at the Wabasca Community Police Cadet Society Board. I have been involved with the cadet program since my kids joined on the first day 3.5 years ago. During that time, I have seen many cadets join and move on. For the most part, we have a core group of kids that are committed and enjoy attending. In the beginning, we had over 100 cadets registered, but slowly it trickled down to a manageable 35 regulars. For 2 years, we had a minimum of 20 cadets attend each practice. Most have turned into teens, and cadets is just not cool anymore. So we are recruiting again and trying to get our numbers back up. At the moment, we have 15 cadets. In the past, we have accepted anyone that registered, but including kids that were there as punishment for parents. Now we require the cadets to want to be there so the experience is better for the whole of the group. The cadets have participated in many annual events, including parades and community fundraisers. Every couple months, we also try to do activities that are a learning experience, but still fun. Last year, we made hand drums over the course of a month and went skiing in another month. This month, the cadets got to go snowshoeing, since anyone noticed the snow is not going away. Next month, they will be learning water safety at the pool. We try to get volunteers to teach new activities, but sometimes honorariums have to be paid. We also prefer to use the local people and resources in our learning. As an incentive to the cadets, they are treated to a week-long field trip each summer. The last one was to Calgary and Drumheller. We all had a blast sleeping in the Calgary Zoo next to the hippos and the giraffes. Some of our cadets had never traveled that far, so it was fun answering all of their questions. We had planned another trip south, but were unable to raise enough funds to go last summer. We used to have free access to a bus, but policies have changed, so we no longer have any means to transport the cadets. Now we need to raise money not only for activities, snacks, equipment, and uniforms, but also to rent a bus to do certain out-of-town activities. Right now, our main source of fundraising has been the local police fish derby each year. This event has raised enough money to keep us going, but not enough to do the really fun stuff with the kids. We rely on volunteers, parents, fundraisers, and donations to run the program. We do not charge any of our cadets to participate other than asking them and their parents to help with fundraising and supervision of activities. We are fortunate in that over the past 3 years, we have had free use of the band school's gym for our practice and activity nights. At first, we used the MD Hall and the gym at Mistassini, both for free, but scheduling made it difficulty with other community events. We also meet at other locations such as the pool, police station, and even the fire hall for a tour. Basically, anywhere in the community that we can do an activity. Without a bus, it just makes it convenient to keep most things local. One day our goal is to have a permanent location to meet with the cadets where we can have practice, do activities such as learning new skills, and to store all our uniforms, equipment, and paperwork. At the moment, everything is in bins stored in a couple places, and we have to dig things out as we need them. It would be great to have lockers for each cadet so they don't have to worry about finding uniforms at home, and all they have to do is get to practice and change into them.
Tamskat na gahkio ya tutinte wa kumagante. Pamong mam skota man ya no kumusong program proposal leutoks na matugam gapotsa. We have a Cree language program in our school, and we have grade kindergarten to grade 3 who have Cree right in the school, and then we have grade 4, grade 5, 6, and 7 in our cultural center. Our cultural center has pretty good support. We have an elder resource person there and an endoscopio, and there's 3 people working there. Our program at the school doesn't have the same kind of resources, so we're looking at having Nokum and a Muso, 2, in a school to work with our the little ones from kindergarten. We have actually play school and kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. To have these grandparent figures, Nokum and Musom, come in and share time with the little ones, speaking to them in Cree. To share stories in Cree and help with the learning of the language at a very early age. We know through research that young people, when we're born, from the time we're born, and I think those of us who had the privilege of being born by our mothers, and they spoke and we heard Cree being spoken around us while we were in our mother's womb, the language was there. So we had that additional privilege of hearing the language before we were born, so it became a part of us. Many of our young people didn't have that, and to this day don't have that privilege of hearing their parents speaking to each other in Cree while they're still in the womb. So the little ones, the best we can do till they're about age 8, 7, 8, up to that age group, from the time they're born to age 8, they can learn as many languages as they can, a skill and the ability of the child can learn as many languages. Some even say about 8, 9 languages. And that holds true with our history. Up north, I know that there are people that spoke up to 5 languages, native languages, indigenous languages, not just English and French, but 5 others or 6 others, because we were in close trapping, hunting environment with other tribes. Like we look at the Slavey, the Chippewa, the Dog Ribs, the other different tribes around us, the Nakota from Alexis, Paul Band. Now there were so many tribes we had to learn the language, and some of our old people had that skill. They could talk to the different tribes that were neighboring, and they exchanged or bartered goods. So that skill is now gone. Some of us still have the privilege of speaking 2 languages. We speak our own language, speak English, and some can speak French. There's some old people still that can speak 3 languages. So what we're trying to do is revive and revitalize the language for our little ones in the school. And we're having our elder community members. They don't have to have grandchildren in the school to be invited. They can be invited to share stories, family stories, history, talking about kinship, how we're related to each other, which, by the way, is also going. We don't really know how we're related to each other. The people I know in this room, I know the ones who are from Wabasca, I know how I'm related to them. But many young people, younger than, I would guess, younger than 40, don't have that knowledge of how we're related to each other and how we don't have that, where we know exactly how to relate to people in talking to them. Because, let's say for example, I have an uncle here.
Oh yeah, here he is.
Yes, and my uncle Lawrence, my mom's first cousin. His dad and my mom's dad were brothers. So he's my uncle, we're cross cousins. There's Romeo Cardinal over there. was also related to my grandmother on my mother's side, who was a cardinal. So he's my cousin, like a parallel cousin. He's like my younger brother. So that's how I would relate to him. So those are the kinds of things that are missing from our families. And because Uncle Lawrence is sitting here, I have to talk to him in a respectful way. And he's shown great respect. So that's the kind. And Jimmy here is my cross cousin. I can joke and make fun and laugh and share jokes, all kinds of humor between us as cousins, because we're cross cousins, and we can use humor and things in correcting each other in our behavior. So that's some of the stuff that's missing. So with the Nokum and Muslim program being in a school, we are hoping and encouraging that these young people begin to understand how they're related to each other, and how to talk in respectful ways to each other, how to treat each other, the relationships that are now missing, the relationship building because of how we're related to each other. We have to put that back in place. Just going a little bit further about corporate culture, corporate industry. No spiritual connection to the land.
Absolutely.
Absolutely none. So that's the kind of stuff when we look at our consultation office, government and industry relations office, promoting that kind of in-service. Our elders are involved with that, encouraging for these corporate people to realize that. I was just talking to people from ATCO today, very good meeting. They want to find out more about what we know, our traditional knowledge and our connection with the land, and the protocol that should be involved when they go about, even before they start taking anything off on a lease. What do you do before you even touch the ground? What protocols involved? That's the kind of stuff that we would hope would be transferred and relate to our young people. Our trappers, our hunters, people who have been raised living off the land. People know how to gather medicine, plants. Those are the people that we would like to have as part of these stories, and sharing their knowledge. And we're looking at not just 2 people that we would invite to come in and stay there for the whole year. We would like to have a real good selection, and just so many people out there yet that we can invite in the classroom to come and share their stories. So they would stay there for a month, 2 weeks maybe, however long. If they wanted to stay longer, they'd have that option. But we're trying to bring in as many people as possible. Older people, like some of us are getting to that age, right? There's no doubt about that. Some of us are way over 55. So that's the kind of relationship building and language learning, and also the environmentally based, going on to that next one, because I'd like to do both, because they're related. The environmentally based program at our cultural center requires an Oskapio. And many of you probably understand what Oskapio is, but Oskapio is a person that's learning from an elder. They're an apprentice. And they learn by doing. They have to be part of ceremonies in order to know what the elder requires, what the elder needs, doing things before the elder even asks for them to do something, and preparing ceremonial stuff. So the Oskapio is an essential person in our program. Environmentally based learning, that means going out on the land. And we have at our cultural center, our grade 4s, the grade 7 students do go out on the land, and they learn how to snare, they learn how to trap, they learn how to work with moose meat, with ducks, with fish. They learn so much, and they even learn how to set up temporary shelters and to make fire with one match.
One match?
One match.
Not long hair?
What
One
happens
match.
if it rains?
What happens if it rains? Well, then that's the trick, right? What do you do when it rains and you don't have dry kindling?
Yeah.
What do you look for? So that's the kind of knowledge that's going to be shared. The Oscapio, we need almost right away because our elder resource person is planning to retire, and he'll be gone by March next year. So we have to have this person in place soon, by September at the latest. So this person can start learning how the elder works with the children right now. And we have a person in mind, but if there are other people out there that would be interested in that kind of a role in a cultural center or in a school, those are the kinds of people we'd like to have. We know we have a very good ground to get people from, and that's Chippewa Lake. No. We have lots of people there. They're close to the land still. And they're a lot closer to the traditional lifestyle than we are, living out and surviving in the bush.
Have you considered rotating them?
Yes,
Moving your buildings around?
that would be good. That's an idea.
Yeah, like the kids that are learning Cree, or trying to learn Cree, how many would you say there are?
In our school,
Yeah.
we have 200 and, I think we hit over 200 this year. I think there's about 224
They
students.
can't speak Cree.
Many of them, no.
You know,
Some-
the federal government has finally gave money to hire a teacher in Bent Cap to teach the kids how to speak Cree there. Yeah, they're learning how to speak Cree. I couldn't speak Cree, so I started taking some Cree classes 8 months ago. What? Oh,
Yeah, some-
yeah.
No, so-
But I like the way you said that. I like the way you say when you were a baby and the mother spoke Cree. My mother spoke Cree in that, so maybe it was a little easier for me to learn the root words
Yeah,
and
it's
stuff
in
like
your
that. but-
genes.
Yeah, yeah,
It's in your blood. It's part of you.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's the kind of stuff, though, that people don't realize, right?
Yeah,
The environment you were born in,
yeah.
that's part of you.
Well, I think that's what's going to bond the Cree people is the language.
Yeah.
Like if we were to have a rally and it was all in Cree, you would get a lot of Cree people, speaking Cree people that would come.
So-
Okay.
Yeah,
That's what'll bond us.
exactly.
Yeah.
The important part of language is that it's part of our identity.
Yeah.
It's who we are. And even if we weren't raised with the language, but we are a part of that, how many generations before us spoke Cree or different languages? Still part of us. That's why we can learn so many languages when we're
A lot
When
of
we're
people
little.
have lost their language, yeah, a lot of language.
yeah. So,
Well, good evening. My name is Donald. I look after the youth, Bigstone Youth Program. I've been on that job since the year 2000. My job came into being when our youth from our community one morning boarded up and locked themselves inside. A whole bunch of youth, probably about 20 of them. They wanted more commitment from chief and council as far as programming, training needs, and all that stuff. And unfortunately, they've been neglected. These were youth that fell through the cracks that Nora talked about. That couldn't hardly read and write, and although there were some, the leaders there, they were very fluent. The group that led what I don't know how you call it, so they had a meeting with chief and council, and they told them they wanted more things happening, recreation facilities, more training programs. So that's how my job came into being. A few weeks later, the same youth asked me if I would look after the youth department and try and make it work and last. They've been trying it, they had previously been trying it for years, but the money would fall through. They would only get spurts of funding here and there, and then the youth program would shut down eventually. It's a matter of months, and that's what I was confronted with. The chief And council told me, you only have $20,000. If you spend that on your salary and if you don't have any money, your job is over. He told me so. But so I wasn't given an office or any office supplies. I was told to do that, to look after my own funding for everything. So that was a huge challenge. But my background is in heavy equipment, and I've been in the oil patch for 10 years. I look after being director for the public work department for 10 years also, so that makes me old. 63 years old today. Yeah. So, been there ever since. Been an uphill challenge all the way through, up till today. We still struggle with training and employment dollars. We still struggle with recreation facilities. We still struggle with having a training facility. Our youth make up about 75 to 80% of youth, 0 to 35 years old. So,
What would the numbers be on that?
pardon me?
Donald, what would the numbers be on that? Say 75% of the membership is youth.
Well, there's 5,000 members.
5,000, okay, that's the size.
Oh, that's a whole.
Yeah.
They make up 0 to 35 make up the population, majority population.
And of that factor, how many are in the city as urban, as opposed to being on reserve? Rough figure.
He's got a good speech, so we'll get to hear him.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, when this community trust dollars came into being, thanks to the TLD settlement, we thought this was a great time, or I thought this was a great time to bring all our needs up to par with the MDs and the other societies that have all these amenities. So that's what Bigstone, there's 5 reserves around Bigstone, A, B, C, D, and Little and Sandy Lake. So, and they're all scattered apart, like from the north end over here, 35, 40 kilometers away from the Bigstone Reserve A, where our office is. Down south, Sandy Lake is another 40 kilometers that way, so going across is about 70 kilometers. So even transportation for youth is a problem, it's an ongoing concern. So with this funding, about 7 years ago I had sat down and wrote, if we ever come across a bunch of money, this is what we would like to have. We'd like to have a training center, a workshop facility such as this one, and all the stuff that you come to Edmonton, you see all kinds of facilities, hockey rinks, baseball diamonds, soccer fields, and basketball hoops, and you name it. That's what we wanted, and there's no reason why we can't have that in all these reserves now. With the reserves so scattered abroad in our community, we should. Why should our youth be traveling? Why can't we have a workshop, a facility? And that's the future plan, is to have all these things in each reserve. And that's what the youth have been asking for all these years, and it has never come about. But now we kind of see some light at the end of the tunnel with the amount of dollars that's going to be coming around every year for a few years. I don't know how many years do you predict that? Forever, okay.
Forever,
So
in perpetuity.
hopefully, the chief and council, so it's our job to encourage chief and council to promote these facilities in each reserve, right? Junior?
That's right.
Promote why can't we have them and have a director in each reserve running these programs, training and employment needs. It's the same as recreation. Boy, let's go for it. In this case, and I am always picking on, I don't know who. Whoever's not here. This year I had asked for 100,000. But I understand that it might change to the original 100,000 that we asked for. Because first year, phase 1 is going to consist of a building 40 by 60, 14 feet high, garage door, a man door, and a concrete slab, and some heat, right? That's the first year. And I move into the second year, you go, or?
Jump into the second year and talk about that.
So that's the first year. The second year, I don't know if any of you have seen the Job Corps building in Calling Lake. I don't know if any of you are familiar, most of you should be familiar with the Job Corps up north, right? They have the MD districts have these Job Corps. There used to be a Job Corps up north and just put in every town up north. Job Corps is the hires 3 groups of people, all right, Linda? The youth, before it had the work corps and the elders work corps, I guess. So back in 2003, we had sat down with the help of the elders, the community of Calling Lake. If you were a treaty and you wanted to go and work at Job Corps is an off-reserve program. You couldn't join simply because you were a treaty. You had to go off-reserve and live there for a few months. And then you can go and apply, and then you might be accepted. So Francois, my friend, and Mike Cardinal, MLA at the time, were very instrumental and were the instigators of allowing us to join Job Corps. I would pay the trainee wages. They would supervise, provide all the building and the transportation. A very good arrangement. They taught them the skills that they needed. So that's always been my dream. To have that. It's similar, and I've been modeling my programs after Job Corps. A few years ago, they shut down most of the Job Corps from about 12 to 2. One in Calling Lake and one in Laklabish.
Were they federally funded or provincial?
Provincial.
That's
Yeah.
fine. Okay.
So our commitment or our agreement with Calling Lake continued up till today. But now with this money coming around, we're planning to plan a workshop, a facility similar to the other Job Corps. So the second year, after the shell, we want to add on the Job Corps in Calling Lake. They've got the same type of what we're trying to do. They've got the shell, and the addition consists of the mechanical room, the kitchen, a classroom, 2 offices, and the washrooms. So that's phase 2. This is phase 1. Phase 2, we want to continue with that. So maybe 24 feet wide, 60 feet long. And that'll work, unless we come up with a better plan, housing plan. But this is a cheap way of putting up a building. If we had $1 million, we'd probably get a better model. But that's
Peters, what we can do is just provide you with a summary. We do receive the proposals, and Loretta's just going to briefly, we may not be able to answer all your questions, at least you'll have some idea of what the proposal is about.
The proposal was submitted by the Bigstone Advisory Elder Society, and the primary contact person was Annie Peters. The goals of the project are to provide an opportunity for the elders in the community of Wabasca to become more vibrant and active by enhancing their knowledge and abilities with a structured program that will reinforce their self-esteem and confidence. Encourage elders to engage in social activities and recreation so that they can remain fit, whereby eliminating some health problems associated with a sedentary lifestyle. To enhance the well-being of elders by giving them the venue to express their views and beliefs, thus increasing their sense of value within the community. Provide a consistent method whereby the elders can formulate an agreeable formula that they can use when interacting with youth in the community. They're proposing to create a drop-in center for the elders in which they can come together and talk on a weekly basis. This will be an opportunity to reconnect with their heritage. Talks will be structured so that participants can stay on one topic per week. This exercise will help in strengthening the Cree language as well as the history of our ancestors. Can be discussed from many viewpoints. This will reaffirm family lines and ties, thus increasing family history and knowledge. Secondly, documenting some of these views, ideas from the elders will give them a strong sense of value by contributing their stories. These stories can be used to instill pride in how we come to be where we are today. This method can also ensure that various elders have precise points of reference when talking to youth. So basically it's a drop-in center and they're asking for some startup dollars. Some costs for some equipment that they're proposing to prepare some small meals when they're gathering. They're talking about purchasing a stove, a cook stove, and some basic kitchen items and essentials. And some costs for maintaining the program, just keeping the group meeting once a week and having all their gathering tools and resources, I guess. And they are proposing $67,500 for this year.
The amount proposed for the issues here is $450,000 to address the issues that was brought forth by Health Canada. We have to address the issues due to all units are considered as advanced assets on reserve. On all reserves which are Reserve A, B, C, D, that's in Wabasca, and Reserve 166 Sandy Lake, and one in Kong Lake, John Baptist Reserve 183. The proposed amount is geared towards health and safety for members occupying the houses or trailers. The issues are: number one, water contamination. Water systems have to be cleaned out or maybe replaced if needed. And the amount is not that huge when you look at the prices. To replace a cistern is about $25,000 and hookups and everything. The other problem we have is sewage backups on foundations, basements, washable tanks, replacements. The same thing, these things are costly, like I had one proposal in already for a bit, it was about $32,000. That's at 33.
Yeah. And if they'd spend the $50 on one-way flat, you'd reduce the damage cost by 50%. Thanks to being housing.
Yeah. The other one is a mold remediation caused by water damages, backups, sewage and everything. Number 4 is animal and pest control, i.e. some houses have bats, the roofs, bed bugs and everything. And all these items were inspected by Health Canada. These items have to be addressed by Opisbono Housing Authority. This is the purpose of this proposal. You know, the amount, when you look at it, the prices and everything, it's not
How many houses does it cover, Lawrence? $450,000. How many are you going to try to keep up to,
I got
or
here
are
one,
at least going to be livable?
but then just cleanups maybe, but I got 25 right here that were from Health
25,
Canada.
okay, 25 that were recommended by Health Canada?
Yeah.
How many come
right
out of the
here.
450,000 disbursements,
Yeah.
including the 25?
Yeah, we won't be able to.
Just cover?
Yeah.
Just an idea.
Anyways, I had a meeting with them today and they'll have about 5 more they have to submit to us here, so that's where we're at right now. And I guess, what I'm more like telling you, oh, here when it comes to voting on this one here is that it's more to members that are occupying the units. It's a hazard for them. Like most of these people have advisory water. They have to boil it, and there's kids in there, elders, and you know it's something that like the students.
It's a
They have to
horrible way.
boil water and they can't, or you know they can't even brush their teeth with this thing here.
Good evening. I'm Francis Badju, JR, residing in Edmonton. Just a little history on our group. Our group started back in October 2011. Members got together from just knowing each other and through family and relatives, people that were interested in forming a group, because in the past, 20, 30, 40 years, I'm sure, there's been Bigstone members that resided in Edmonton and surrounding area. So we thought, we need to do something because it's long overdue. So we developed we named it Urban Action Group to try to get the awareness that, we need a voice. We need a voice for our leadership to understand and community people that reside in all the reserves in Bigstone territory. We wanted to make sure that our voice was heard and people had a group that they could be part of if they chose to. So we moved along and we started to develop ideas and tried to make sure that we got people's participation. People were aware of where and the direction that we wanted to go. Some of the direction and short and long-term goals our group is trying to see were brought about and made more clearly when the proposal process started for the TLE and the monies came to be for off-reserve members. Wanted to touch on community. Our community is it is in the city. It is in the city, and we're spread out, such as other communities are widespread. Reserve A, Reserve D, North End, Trout, Chip. So the communities we grow up in, we want to be part of something like that when you move to the urban setting. So a lot of that driving force came to be for this group to build and connect all our members in the city. The youth have been long overseen. The youth have pushed council to bring something about on the reserve anyway. But, you know, there are a lot of youth that reside in the city that are Bigstone members or affiliates. And we wanted to make sure that, you know, they're not overlooked. They have a voice to be heard by our people, by the elected people that we allow to represent us. We have a lot of good proposals, a lot of good people that have been part of Bigstone for a long time, whether in the elected sense or in a community, trying to build our language, trying to build our culture, trying to instill that into the young people. Our goals as presenters and people in the community that want to see better for our people. And that's the whole goal, is to benefit our people. It's for the people, by the people, right? We want to see all our people succeed in whatever they choose to go for, schooling, whatever career they choose. So, you know, I looked at, and I've heard all the presenters in Slave Lake, Calling Lake, and a lot of them, all of them, have been long overdue. It goes back to who's it going to benefit, and it's the next generation. It's the current generation, the people that want to see our people succeed. Now we need to give them the tools. You know, all these proposals that presenters you guys heard. We need to support them. We need to get our family members and our friends that are Bigstone members out to vote. We need to make them understand that this is important. This is important because, you know, we want people to succeed. Don't we all want people to succeed? Don't you want your kids to succeed? We all want to see our kids succeed in whatever they choose to do. You know, these are the people that are trying to give the tools, that need the tools, to pass those tools on and have more educated people representing us, and in turn, the cycle will continue, but we'll always get better, and that's the whole focus, is to get better and be heard. So with that, I think I want to introduce Gwen Muskwa, and she's another awesome member of Bigstone. So thank you.
Thanks, Francis. Good evening, everybody. I'd just like to thank all of the other presenters, because it's wonderful to see some good projects wanting to move ahead, and that I think will really benefit our community. I've been in the city for a number of years. I've grown up here. I've never really lived on the reserve. My family moved to Slave Lake, and then I've been a city slicker since I was about 5 years old. So, but when the TLE was going through, you know, there was some potential, a lot of potential to do some good things, and with the Urban Trust, what we thought is, you know, it'd be nice to start engaging all our community so that we feel not just, you know, we're here in the city, but we want to make sure we are still connected back home as well. So we wanted to start, we've kind of been doing it on a volunteer basis, kind of impromptu meetings, trying to engage the membership here. We've not been that successful, so, you know, word of mouth and stuff, and not having the information. We have a large population here in the city, probably about 1,000 plus. So trying to engage all those people. So what we've put together in the initial proposal for last year is how we'd like to start engaging them, because right now, you know, I work for Treaty 8, so we've been borrowing our boardroom. Francis's wife, you know, offered her board, you know, so we've been trying to get all the free space because we didn't have money to, you know, get a hotel or provide meals. We've been doing it potluck style and whatever we can to try to get people out. So, but the phase one, last year's proposal, what we're looking at doing is to engage and try contact as many members. It's mostly been in the West End, but we have a large population, probably in Millwoods, in the East End, North Side. So we need to start moving our meetings out to those areas. And of course, even in my work, engaging people is a hard thing to do, getting people out. So you always have to offer them something, whether it's a supper or door prizes, whatever. So what we want to do is start having those meetings in the various points of the city. We have some membership that live out in Stony Plain and Spruce Grove as well, so maybe a meeting out there, just to get as many members out to start being involved. Because what we'd like to do is see what the needs are for the community here. You know, we want to make sure 3 primary areas that came up is our elders. We want to make sure our elders are looked after if they have to be here in the city. We have some students, post-secondary students out here as well, you know, so we want to support them to make sure that they're doing well in school and maybe feel some connectedness, you know, through other membership here to support them as well. And also the youth, our kids. So we really wanted to look after those kind of 3 key areas. So we need to engage them, see what they need for support. So when phase 2 or the second proposal, we weren't quite sure how we wanted to go about our proposal because we, you know, with phase 1, we hadn't had a chance to really engage people yet, so we're still going to do that. And then, but just from the feedback from some of the meetings that we've had, you know, some of the ideas that have been generated, what we did for phase 2 for this last round is we wanted to put in some supports or kind of interim measures. Because in the city, like, you know, we have the luxury of having some programs and services available to us through the city of Edmonton or whatever. So, but sometimes people fall in the crack or just don't know how to get to that phase. So what we wanted to do is to kind of put in some money to support elders if they needed something specific that we can help them out. For students, you know, maybe they needed that extra book, you know, that maybe we can start supporting them. Somebody that needs a job and all they need is their WEMIS to go get that job, but they don't qualify under some other programs. So it's sort of an interim measure, and then what we want to do, hopefully, once we kind of see what the overall need is for the community here, is to start building partnerships, because there's a lot of good organizations here in the city that we can be partnering with as well. The City of Edmonton offers some recreation programs, but you have to apply for that, and it's based on need. You know, but we'd like to make sure that that kid gets into that soccer program or whatever for now, you know, so we'll pay the registration fee if it's $100, and then we can work with the city to get them on these other programs that they could benefit from. So that's sort of how we based our proposal, and you know, we do have a large population here. You know, I just met Joe here. You know, everyone has some wonderful and good ideas, and you know, there's some that have some special needs. You know, with our non-insured being cut back, we're not getting the same benefits, health benefits, so sometimes there might be an elderly person that might need a special appliance or walker, whatever, that might not be covered. So, you know, like, let's look after their needs. You know, so those are kind of some of the areas that we've touched on and put some supports in. You know, like when we were doing the budgeting for this, one area that we wanted to look at was supporting our elders. You know, like, it'd be nice to be able to assist them in many ways. But once we just started even putting some basic numbers, it was the whole budget. Like, we wouldn't even have enough money to put those supports in place for the elders and what they need. So, you know, we kind of just did it, okay, well, let's just allocate a certain amount of dollars and make sure that we have the elders. We want a sports and recreation fund, elder, student supports, health and disability supports for those interim measures or something that's not covered by non-insured, training and workshops. One idea is, once we get going, is hopefully to have monthly meetings and social. So Nora was saying, you know, knowing our kin, you know, like, I'd like to know how I'm related to everybody. So, you know, if we can start promoting some of that awareness, our programs like Cree, beading, all the cultural stuff is, you know, some of that money could go to programming for that. You know, like maybe we make moccasins one week or whatever, or one meeting, or, you know, so different programs, that's sort of where we want to go. And we want to look long-term because that trust is going to be here hopefully forever for the benefit of the off-reserve population membership. So right now, it's not a lot of money, but this money is going to grow in time. So we can do bigger and better things as we go along in time.
I had a couple of, I don't know, ideas as to who would qualify, how, one of them was the senior had to be on OAS, which would mean that they'd have to be 65 or older. Also, if two seniors made up a household, they would only get 200 and not 400. And that's it. Short, simple. And odd.
Sweet.
The last slide we have is on voting. We've talked about it briefly. And I know Loretta's just biting at the bit to talk at this point. In terms of the officers, members, and affiliates, we will be sending out a package to everyone that we have an address for. There's going to be a bunch of things in there, and I think, Loretta, if you want to just touch on the contents of that, Loretta was here actually.
I guess just backing up to the settlement back in 2010. I got a question during the break regarding members and affiliates and the difference between this process and voting in chief and council elections. Totally different voters lists. This here is Bigstone members and affiliates. And when I say affiliates, I mean the Bill C-31 and the recent amendment to the Indian Act as of January 2011 is Bill C-3s. And we currently have people that have been registered, probably 100 plus today since that recent amendment. So it's everybody who has a 458 treaty number that's affiliated with this settlement and entitled to vote in this process. So just some stats. We were working on the voters list because of course for this process we had to establish 4 voters lists because we have an off-reserve trust. So the off-reserve people also have a voters list as well. So our statistics today are our off-reserve total population of voting age is 4,033 people. We have with addresses 1,908, and those are the packages we're preparing right now. And quite a package we're sending out. We have 4 ballots, 2 for the 2011 Nation Trust, 2 for the 2011 and 2012 off-reserve members and affiliates trust. So that's 4 ballots plus Evo's cover letter, instructions for the mail-in voting, and a return envelope with postage paid, self-addressed, and all that stuff. So we're putting that together still even as we speak, the last page of it. Hopefully we're sending it off to the printer tonight. We should have all these packages ready tomorrow. We've got a team ready to start packaging. This is actually a greater number than when we did the TLE vote. Back in 2010, we sent out 1,500 packages. That's how many people we had addresses for. So we're doing better. We have 1,900 today. And those are the packages we're obligated to send. In the trust agreements, it says we are only obligated to send out packages to those we do have addresses for. Without addresses, we have 829 people. For Calling Lake and Wabasca, there's an off-reserve component to the communities, and there's 196 people living off-reserve in Calling Lake with addresses. Wabasca, off-reserve, there's 1,100 people living there in Wabasca with addresses. So on reserve in Calling Lake, we have 156 people. So our off-reserve calling lake people exceeds on reserve, which is the same for Wabasca Demery. We have 971 people living on reserve, and these are all voting age. This does not include the children. So our numbers are great and growing. So that kind of gives you, statistic-wise, we're able to, with the software at the membership department and working with the ladies, we're able to create tables. So we'll be able to assist, say, Lawrence with some statistics on how many elders live in Slave Lake. Urban Action Group will try and get them something for what they need to do with their planning. And any other proposals that may need that. This is what the ballot is going to look like. At the bottom, this is what went to the printer. It shows exactly that budget. And at the bottom of the ballot, it'll say, do you approve of this budget proposed by the trustees and that these programs and services are paid for out of the net income of the trust? It's a simple yes or no. And for greater certainty, any previously approved and ongoing programs and services shall be deemed to be approved. So it's basically a yes or no to this budget. This is an entire package. You can't say yes to this, no to that, yes to that. It's all together for that year. And so that's what the ballots will look like. So these are the dates. The trust agreements basically, in particular the off-reserve members and affiliates trust agreement states that we do have to do a mail-out. Mail-outs have to be done for all the people we have addresses for, so we are obligated to do that, and that's what we're doing. It is always the responsibility of members and affiliates to update their address at the band office with our band registrar, Corinne Cardinal. We are working with addresses that we have. We know that many of them may come back returned. But with that in mind, we've also included locations for off-reserve in Slave Lake. There'll be a polling station as well as Edmonton to capture those people who possibly missed their ballot if it was sent to a previous address and returned, and then they still have this to come in. They can actually come and vote at any of the locations. We'll have the ballots there just in case. People are so transient, they're always between the communities, and maybe somebody happens to be working in Colin Lake or in Wabasca and might want to vote there. So we do have 4 voters lists, and they are complete. So if somebody does go up and I suggest that you continue to go up to contact Corinne and update your address if you haven't done so. But for the purposes of the mail-out packages, they will be done this week. So you may get family out there that'll give you a call and say, I got something in the mail. You'll know what that is about.